Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. The story was made by a user named Make Bueller Proud in the relationship advice subreddit. The post is titled, "My stepfather killed my mother and took his own life. I don't know what to do. I know this doesn't sound real. I have my boyfriend and my best friend here. I've known this for about 2.5 hours. It still doesn't seem real. I don't really know what I want to accomplish with this post, but I swear it is real. It's 3:51 a.m. in Berlin right now. We were trying to finish watching the movie that we started before the police rang my doorbell. I don't know what to do. Edit, the police just called me. My stepfather killed himself. I wish I could destroy him. Right now, I just feel empty. Edit 2, I don't even know why I'm posting here. I'm usually just a lurker. I guess I just want somebody to know. I feel like the whole world should know. My mother is the most amazing person and she has always been my idol. I don't know how to feel. I'm in our apartment and it feels like everything I see is her. My evening started so differently. Everything started so differently. I haven't slept yet, and I don't know how I will, though sleeping is usually my talent. Mom wakes me up every afternoon if she feels like I'm sleeping too long, since I moved back in during the COVID lockdown. My last post got capped, so I made a throwaway account. It's been about 24 hours since the police stood in front of the door to my mom's and my apartment and told me that my mother is dead. I've cried so much today. It feels like an ocean of tears. So much that I just feel empty now. I miss her so much. It still feels like a bad dream. This can't really be real. Her death was on the news and I saw a picture of a body in a blue body bag being rolled into the back of a wagon. That is my mother, in that bag. Oh my god. I'm going to run down what happened again. Maybe this will make it more real for myself. I don't know. My boyfriend and I were in the park playing speedminton on Wednesday evening when my mom called me and told me she would be coming home. I asked her if everything was okay and she said yes, not to worry about it, and that my boyfriend was still welcome to come over if he liked. I told her okay, I would see her in a moment. We both went home and she wasn't there. I wasn't worried. My stepfather and my mom have been together for a while and they're very much in love, but they can fight a lot sometimes. They always make up very quickly. I tried calling her several times to see if she wanted dinner and sent her text messages as well as texting and calling my stepfather. They didn't answer. This wasn't so unusual either. I thought they just made up. I'm guessing by this time he had already stabbed her. I feel sick writing this sentence. The police showed up at 3 in the morning, informed me, and stayed in the apartment while my boyfriend called my best friend, who rushed over with a taxi. Everything is kind of a blur from then on. I remember sitting down to write this Reddit post because I didn't know how to feel or what to do, and I guess I wanted to scream my pain into the internet void. At that point, my stepfather hadn't killed himself yet. He had taken his car up into the countryside where my mother has a tiny little house by the lake, which is her pride and joy, with her garden. Both of them went up there every weekend together. He killed himself there. The fucking bastard. I've never been so angry in my life. I loved him. He was part of my family, and we got along really well. Some part of me wishes I could strangle him or scratch his eyes out. I just want to scream in his face about how he could do this to me, to her, my lovely mother. She is such a light. She is such an incredible person, and we were so close. I told her everything, and not just because she's my mother, she is truly an amazing person. Everybody who met her loved her. I stayed awake until about 6 a.m. I smashed a few glasses. I cried a lot. We finished watching the movie. Today, I had to call all of the people. My grandparents, her brother, her friends. I had to call my stepfather's children in the UK and tell them what happened. I can't imagine how hard it must be for them. My mother was the victim. Their father was the murderer. I feel so bad for them. I've gotten so many calls and messages from people offering to help me in any way I need, who cry on the phone and ask me if this is real. Having to tell people over and over again what happened has really wrecked me, especially my grandparents, my granddad. I don't know how he is going to get through this. He just kept screaming, "No, no, not my mom." I have to go to the police today to give a statement, probably talking about their relationship. I have to be there in 4.5 hours and I haven't really slept yet. I can't really eat either. I just feel like throwing up at the thought of food. I wanted to thank all of you for your comments on my first post. I know we don't know each other and that I'm just some faraway voice on a screen with a terrible fate, but I did feel better reading your hugs and encouragement. I will have to think about getting a lawyer. My dad is sleeping in the other room. We're going to have to figure out how to move forward from here. Some part of me honestly doesn't see a point anymore. There's so much pain in my life. I've had so many bad experiences. I got through a and a drug problem, and everything was on its way up, and now this. But I love my mom more than anything, and I can't disappoint her. I'm going to need to be here for my dad and for myself. I'm sorry for the long text, I just feel like I need to get something out. I feel so lost and empty. I miss my mom. A month later, OP provided an update. Fair warning, this might be quite a long post and it might trigger someone. I've been writing this over several days as more information keeps trickling in and the picture of that night is becoming clearer and clearer. I think I'm also mainly writing this for myself. What happened that night is still so surreal. I'm sitting at my mother's desk right now in her little office in our apartment that I grew up in Berlin. Her presence is all around me in some way. It has been 23 days since the police showed up at my door at 3 in the morning and asked if they could come in, since my stepfather hung himself. Everything has been so confusing. It's all sort of a mixture of crying, screaming, yelling, throwing things, and just emptiness. I go through phases and it's really hard to cope. Since that night, I haven't ever actually been alone. This is somewhat exhausting for me in some ways, but probably also very important. I'm going to go through the series of events and facts because I want to set things right. Since some of you found the articles online and connected the dots, there is so much false information in the media that it's hard to believe. My mother and my stepfather were together for 8 years, and he had only been living in Berlin since then. He has children from his previous marriage. That is all I will say. I am my mother's only daughter. He did not call me to confess to what he did. Instead, he called some vaguely mutual friend who he walks his dog with sometimes. This was sometime after 11 p.m. At this point, he was already at the summer house. It takes about an hour and 45 minutes to get there. This means my mother had been dead for about 2 hours. The summer house did not belong to my stepdad, but to my mom. She poured all of her savings into renovating it by hand. It does not belong to him in any way. The police showed up at our apartment late at night. They didn't know where he might have gone and were also worried he might come and harm me since he had the keys to our apartment as well. I was watching a movie with a friend of mine. I posted on Reddit a few hours later. The news articles started coming out the next day, connecting my stepfather to a celebrity. I posted because I needed help. This celebrity and my stepfather are by no means friends. They are acquaintances and there is no reason for him to be brought into any of this. That was Wednesday night or Thursday morning. On Friday, I was at the criminal police office and gave a 3-hour statement about them and their relationship. Since then, my whole world has been turned upside down. My mother, the person I honestly loved most in the whole world, was just torn from me. It feels like I have this big bleeding hole inside of me. I'm not crying all the time. Sometimes I feel okay, but more often I feel empty. My mother has been with me my whole life. 21 years. And I'm not just saying this because she is dead. She was honestly the best mother you could wish for. She was goofy and caring, her laugh was infectious, and she had such integrity. She was the most animated person. When she told a story, she would get up from the table and gesture all around. Her eyes were so bright and shining. I think I might show some pictures of her because I want people to recognize her beauty. I want the whole world to know she is gone because this is an honest and devastating loss to the world. Believe me, she was so talented. She got her bachelor's in art history in America and worked odd jobs all her life. She's always been a hippie. When I was little, she started working at this English language summer camp in Thuringen, Germany, and she used to take me there for many weeks with her, on a hill, on a farm in the middle of a giant forest. She was a magician in the kitchen. She could open the fridge door and magically make something out of leftover ingredients that nobody would ever think would taste good. She liked to make everything herself. She would let milk go bad to make her own ricotta. I have 1,000 jars of her homemade chutneys and jams. She baked her own bread years before the pandemic. She made her own vinegar, syrups, alcohol, and her hot sauces were legendary. I used to come home, open the fridge door, and ask her which of the many bowls covered with little plates were edible and which weren't ready yet. Since she's died, I have found so many unfinished experiments of things I don't even know what they are. I wish I could ask her. There are so many things I wish I had the time to ask her. Writing this is making me cry again. At the beginning of the pandemic, in March I believe, I moved back in with her. She ordered 14 different bottles of white wine from Lidl, and every night we drink one together while we cooked. I'd write notes on the color and taste, and we'd give it a score from 1 to 10 on the little scale. She was one of the funniest people I knew, and she was so forgiving. Even when I was younger, we would get into huge blow-up fights sometimes and scream at each other, but 5 minutes afterward, she'd come into my room and apologize, telling me she loved me more than anything in the world. We told each other we loved one another all the time, sometimes just randomly, and hugged each other. I'm so grateful for this. I would say we had a rare mother-daughter bond. I love her with all my heart. She has always been my idol and my role model. If I'm even half the person she was, generous, hilarious, creative, emotional, forgiving, and understanding, I will be lucky. I see her face in front of me all the time. I can hear her laugh. I'd give anything for her to be with me right now. Anything. It really tears me apart. If it weren't for her, I would have probably been dead a year and a half ago. She pulled me out of my dark holes. She loved me unconditionally. She isn't just my mother, she is my best friend, and I will never forgive him for taking her from me, especially since more and more facts are coming out. I feel so much hatred and anger. I feel it boiling underneath my skin, threatening to come out. I've smashed so much stuff, I've gotten so angry. Sometimes I snap and scream at people, and other times I just cry and beat my pillows. And sometimes I'm very calm. I can still feel joy. My mother had this amazing circle of friends that I've known my whole life, and they are supporting me. I saw her body in the coffin, and I will never be able to get that image out of my head. She was so tiny, it breaks my heart. I've also slept 2 nights at the cabin, and in the dark, every shadow looked like my stepfather. I've become scared and started locking my doors at night. Murder used to seem like something so far off, something that happened to other people in a different world, separate from mine. But now it's not. And I won't let him spoil her place, her house. I won't let him take that away from her and from me. I refuse. I just miss her. I miss everything about her. It hasn't been that long yet, and all I want is for her to hug me, say my name, tell me she loves me, and that she thinks I'm an amazing young woman. I want her to cuddle with me in bed, which she did for so many years until I felt too old for it. I want to sit at the kitchen table in the morning with her and have her ask me what I dreamt about last night, talking about our dreams together. I want her to discuss my story ideas and poetry with me and to talk about the book she was writing but will never finish. It just hurts so much. I don't know how to ever get past this. She has always been the most amazing person I know, and I can't get over this. I don't know how to move on. I feel lost. It feels like I have to grow up very fast now and carry her with me. There's so much more to tell, so much, but I should probably stop somewhere. I would appreciate any advice. Thank you for reading. Edit, hey everyone. Imagine my surprise scrolling through Reddit on my living room couch this fine afternoon when I see a little picture of my mom and me in my feed. I was not expecting that at all. Then to look further down and see all of these wonderful and heartfelt comments underneath. I couldn't believe it, and I actually started crying again. This is the reason I reached out back then into the void during my darkest time, and Reddit reached back and gave me something to hold on to. When you lose your faith in humanity in that way, I needed the love that came from so many strangers all over and the support. Yesterday was actually my birthday. I just turned 25, so it has been a bit over 3 years, and I can't believe that so much time has passed. I can't stand to think about how much time has gone by without her. Just thinking about it makes it hurt more. I miss her so much. Thank you to everyone for worrying about me and wishing me well. I'll give a quick update, and maybe one of these days I'll sit down and write something more substantial. I've been in therapy for almost 2 years now, and I have a wonderful therapist who helps me greatly. It took me a while to find her, and there was a lot of trial and error with former therapists, but she's amazing, and I'm so happy to have her. She actually says that I have improved greatly, though my mother's murder is something that I've buried very deep down in the darkness of my psyche, and we haven't quite reached it yet. My therapist says it's important not to force everything out at once, but to go step by step. She says that I'm protecting myself by keeping it numb. I think I agree. I do feel a particular kind of numbness ever since that happened. A few times during sessions, we've cracked through that wall, and what spilled out was, well, horrifying pain. So I'm fixing everything else that needs fixing, slowly and steadily, and it's going very well. I feel like I owe this to my mother since I seem to have a tendency to get myself into toxic relationships as well, and I am not ready to go down that path any longer. Hence, I'm taking a break from relationships. Shortly after my mother's murder, I got 2 cats since my mom and I had cats growing up and she loved them so much. One of them looks exactly like the reincarnation of our cat Nos, which I know she'd love. I still live at home in her room now, surrounded by all the hundreds of books she collected, along with my own collection of novels that I've added. My father and I have held on to each other tightly throughout these last few years. I honestly don't know what I'd do without him. He's my rock. My father threw himself into working on the cabin. I think he loves being out in nature, but mostly he loves feeling like he can do something for my mom. Every time he drives up, he brings flowers, and we have a little picture of her leaning against a tree with a candle in front of it. He puts them there. I also know my mom would be positively thrilled to see everything we've done. I really feel her up there, and I have completely eradicated my stepfather from that place. It started out with stubbornness, but by now I truly believe there's nothing of him left in the house, and if there was, it can go and screw right off. I'll post some pictures with a link later. I'm very lucky because I have some absolutely lovely friends. Especially in the past few months, I've recognized just how amazing they are and how much support I have coming from them. On Sunday evening, I planned to celebrate my birthday in a park in Berlin, and I was so touched by how many people showed up. We spent a lovely evening drinking and playing Cards Against Humanity and Werewolf. My closest friends helped me so much with setting up. They baked me a cake exactly like the one my mother used to make for me. A lot of bad things have happened in the last few years, I won't lie, but there have also been many good things, and I continue to fight on. If you guys are interested, I can give an in-depth report on what else we found out back then, but I should probably get up off this couch and go enjoy the last rays of sunshine in Berlin. This also got way longer than I expected. Thank you all for your lovely comments and well wishes. User Tychosis said, I probably read too much real-world drama and consider myself pretty salty, but this one's rough. Under this comment, user Pammy Head said, it was really rough for me too, but also a little eye-opening in one way. My mom was married to someone I initially thought was wonderful. It wasn't until I became disabled from a brain injury and had to move back home, going from golden child to scapegoat, that I saw his true abusive nature. His turning on me opened mom's eyes to the fact that it wasn't just him being moody sometimes, and she finally kicked him out. He got violent at the end, just once, ostensibly in the heat of the moment, but it happened. As much as part of me doesn't want to believe he could have devolved so far as to kill her, in all honesty, I know it was possible. I still struggle with my disability, of course I do. It sucks so much to lose cognitive abilities you used to have. But this post finally helped me see that bright, shining silver lining. If I hadn't had my accident, mom would most likely still be married to him. I would do it again 100 times. I would lose more as long as it kept my mom safe. User Luckyworth said, she was so young, so radiant. I can't imagine what OP is going through. She sounds like a strong young woman, the kind that a brilliant woman like her mother raises. As for the case, it reminds me of a murder here in Italy. A boyfriend killed his girlfriend out of the blue. It turns out he is a and the girlfriend had found out. User Yes Ma'am said, we have this idea that abusers are monsters, just horrible people who are nothing like the rest of us. It's totally not true. Violence is a continuum and a lot of people fall at some point on that line. Plus, our society condones so many points on that line. We act like it's okay to control women's bodies and like it's okay to limit women's voices. We side with men who hurt women's spirits, and then we act like these same men just snapped when they finally kill her. Our society and Reddit constantly encourage a violent mindset that dehumanizes women. Of course, one of these nice guys killed his wife. He was doing everything but for years, and we are all conditioned to act like it's normal. Under this comment, K-Jack said, my best friend lost her parents and brother in a double murder that her father committed. She was 20 and I was 19 when it happened. She was away at college when she called me to tell me what happened. After we hung up the phone, she texted me asking for a favor. The favor was to not think of her father as a monster. This was about 12 hours after she found out. How she was that composed and insightful, I'll never know. It took me years to get there, but I did. Then she died in a train accident 3 years to the week after her father took out her family. She's been gone almost 5 years now. I still take time to remember her father, the murderer, but not as a monster. They're all buried in the same plot of land together. It is frankly what she would have wanted. We are all capable of evil, each one of us. Separating ourselves from those who commit these atrocities is what causes them to happen again.